You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. Tomorrow will be the last print edition of the historic Chicago Defender. Of course, Chicago Defender was founded in 1905 by Robert Abbott. It became the leading newspaper for African Americans across this country. Robert Abbott used the pages of the Chicago Defender to lead the fight against racism and segregation. Of course, he was followed by John Sinstack, his nephew. He took the paper over. The Bud Billiken Parade, of course, was a staple of the Chicago Defender. Now it's a separate charity, but if it wasn't in the Defender, frankly, it did not happen. And tomorrow, now the paper's going to continue in digital form, but tomorrow is the last print edition. The paper used to start off as a weekly, then it became a daily newspaper, 5-day-a-week newspaper, and then, of course, it later switched back to twice a week. I actually was the executive editor of the Chicago Defender from 2004 to 2007, when it was last a daily newspaper. The decision was then made to cut the paper from 5 days to 2 days a week. Then it went to a weekly, and now there will be no print edition. It is somewhat sad, if you will, that we are actually at this point. It is bittersweet for me as well, because if I dare say, in all of my career, this probably the Defender probably was one of the most frustrating moments I had in my career. So let me explain that. Took it over in 2000, part of a group that was looking at buying the newspaper in 2000. We examined the financials, the editorial, and then there was an investor out of Chicago who brought us in to look at it. And then it was 4 years later, then when I met some folks who did eventually buy the paper. I was brought on as a consultant in July of 2004 and took it over 3 months later as the executive editor. I knew about the importance of the Chicago Defender, and I believe the Defender could have become, again, a national brand and a major newspaper. We lost money our first year. We made about $100,000 in profit our second year, and about $400,000 in profit our third year. So you might ask, well, what happened? And I think, guys, if y'all have the covers, some of the covers when we took it over, you can go ahead and show that. One of the things I did was change the masthead. It had not been changed in half a century. Gave it a whole new look in terms of our design. And so we have those. Go ahead and show them, please. But here's the thing why it was so frustrating. While there, I launched the first audio Black News Source podcast. This is in 2005, folks. 2005, 14 years ago. Launched the first video podcast by a Black News Source in 2006. That was 13 years ago. And so the owners of the Chicago Defender came to me, is that the folks who own the paper came to me and they said, well, you know what, we really just want to remain a small newspaper. And that was so frustrating to me, and that's actually why I left. The Defender, this decision to stop printing the paper, the reality is it should have been made 5 years ago. And the problem I have with this, and I have no problem saying this, as somebody who has been in media since I was 14 years old, and that is too many of our Black media institutions are dying because they refuse to keep up with the times. Let me say that again. Facts. They're dying because the folks who own them refuse to keep up with the times. I remember, and I remember when we were negotiating my contract with Tom Joyner, with Reach Media, and I was talking about we need to podcast my segment. No, we want to put it in the play. I'm like, what are we doing? People are going towards podcasting. This is 5+ years ago. All of a sudden now podcasting has blown up. Guess what? They're behind the curve. Why is there no Black major entity doing podcast? Think about it. about it. There's no black news show on any of the cable networks, black-owned cable networks. Black media is losing its influence because too many of the owners of black media are not keeping up with the changes. When I was in Dallas, Texas, we had like 7 or 8 black newspapers. And I remember I was working on the newspaper, and Jim Washington, who is the publisher, and he said, Mr. Martin, why are you always trying to put my friends out of business? I said, because Jim, you're charging $2,500 for a full-page ad when you should be charging $12,500. I said, there's too many black newspapers in Dallas. I said, Dallas Weekly, the Dallas Examiner, the Dallas Post-Tribune, the Elite News, Minority Opportunity News in Arlington. That was Levita News in Fort Worth as well. There literally were 7 or 8 black newspapers in one region. Y'all, the Dallas Times-Herald shut down, leaving the city of Dallas with only one daily newspaper. So why is that important? Because the trends were showing the marketplace couldn't support 7 or 8. Now, I know there's somebody out there who's saying, yeah, but doesn't that mean more black businesses? Yeah, it means more small black businesses. It means you don't have a black media institution that has capacity, that has scale, that has the ability to hire 20 and 30 and 50 and 60 and have reporters here, and here because you don't have the revenue. That's really what my frustration is. Chicago, the vision that I was sort of thinking about was one where we should have been having lectures and having the same thing that you see Politico in the Atlantic, these conferences and these seminars, and also generate revenue. Now, they're doing some of that, non-traditional revenue, but it's not enough. I also remember when we were moving location, people were fighting me. We need to stay in the building. I'm like, y'all, we use 10% of this building. It would have cost us literally $8 to $10 million to refurbish the building the Chicago Defender was in, and the whole company wasn't worth $8 to $10 million. And I say, y'all got to make up y'all minds in Chicago. What do y'all want? The building or the paper? And so I know there are a lot of people who are sad that they're no longer printing the Chicago Defender. But guess what, folks? The New Orleans Times-Picayune made the same decision. They're owned by the same company owns Condé Nast, Advanced Publications. Now, what happened down there? Guess what? So folks who used to work for the Times-Picayune went off and started a competing newspaper. That newspaper grew, got built in size. You know what they ended up doing? They ended up coming back and buying the Times-Picayune. Why am I going through all of this? Because what we have to understand is this here. Black media is not immune from what's happening in this media industry. Black media needs to stop acting as if they somehow are different from everybody else. Do y'all understand that Essence magazine makes more money off of the Essence Festival than they do the magazine? Folks, it's dropped out. The advertising business has dropped out of the magazine industry. Black Enterprise, if it wasn't for their events, their conferences, Black Enterprise would not exist. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is, and I did this commentary a few months ago, there are too many black media silos. There are too many small black media entities and here and here and here and here and here that are not doing things in a major way, that don't have scale, and don't have the capacity to be larger. That's the problem. And so the Defender is 5 years late in making this decision. I'm telling you right now, had I still been running the paper, yep, I probably would have made this decision in 2012, at the latest 2015, because the economics had changed. I'm frustrated because I desperately wanted to build a digital database when we were there for this very reason. I remember, look, BET is now launched, they're announcing BET Plus, a live streaming service. Great. And they're not black owned, Viacom owns them, but it's a smart business move. Black media folks are going to have to wake the hell up. And I've been saying this
we're going to have to see consolidation among black media if we expect black media to be able to be here. You can't have Ebony and Jet over here, and Essence over here, and Black Enterprise over here, and The Source over here, and Upscale over here, and this website, and that website, and this website, and this thing, and that thing, and that thing, and somehow think they're all going to survive. If you're seeing consolidation among the majors, what makes you think you shouldn't have it among the minors? And so I know there are people out there who are sad to see this Defender no longer in print. But I'm going to tell you the exact same thing I said when I was in Chicago and I ran the paper. What do you want? The building or the paper? And now, what do you want? Do you want the paper, the physical manifestation, or do you want the digital property? Now the question to the folks who own the Defender, how are you going to retool your staff to actually be competitive? We had the opportunity 14 years ago. I hope they figured it out how to do it today.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. MarijuanaStock.org is another great investment opportunity if you were lucky enough to invest in their last crowdfunding campaign. You, of course, now know that those folks are invested in a publicly traded company. They raised a ton of money in a few months investing in legal marijuana farms. Now, of course, they have a new investment opportunity, which is as good or if not even better. I'm talking about industrial hemp CBD. For those who don't know, the hemp plant is the cousin to marijuana, with a much higher concentration of CBD, which means hemp CBD gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Now, until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S. and creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all the plants, which makes for an incredible investment opportunity. And that's where our good friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is real simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords. And you can get in on the action. You can invest in the crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200 up to $10,000. Like I said, you may not want to miss out this opportunity. Go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org to get in the game and to do it now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.